today we're in Dublin. Yeah, we're not in any other part of Ireland because right now it's still winter and it's cold and we'd like to stay outside for longer whenever we visit these gorgeous places. So we are in, where are we again? I keep forgetting.
We're in Dublin 7 today in, I think this counts already as Phibsborough. It's Blessington Street Basin and it looks like it's not a place in Dublin. It's just you enter through the old stone gates and you feel like you're somewhere, as you can hear by the birds, in nature.
This is actually a different series. We're giving you, instead of best place to live in Ireland, it's the best place to live in Dublin. And today we're starting out with District 7, which we're going to visit a couple of places. I think we got Smithfield, we're already here in Blessington, and wherever else we get up to today.
Today we're in Smithfield where they have giant teapots apparently, and also the famous Smithfield Market Square.
As you can see, we're back inside. Dublin these days has been very cold and wet, so we decided to jump back in here to film the rest of the video.
So Dublin 7 is actually quite of a central district. People usually don't talk about it when you talk about the city centre, but you can literally walk from the city centre there. Like, we had to decide whether we're going to wait for the Luas or just literally walk all the way from Smithfield from Connolly. And at the end of the day, okay, technically probably the Luas would have gotten us there 5 minutes sooner, but the fact that we could walk the same distance as it would have taken us to wait the 10 minutes plus the Luas ride tells you just how close it is to the city centre. And there's also many public transport stops throughout Dublin 7. So obviously you have the Red Luas with Smithfield and Forecourts and Museum, if you count those two towards the Smithfield area. And you also have the Green Luas along Grange Gorman and out that side. Smithfield is probably the most popular neighbourhood in Dublin 7. It's centred around Smithfield Market Square, and it used to be, as you may have guessed by the name, a market square. And in more recent, well, the last few decades kind of years, it used to be famous, or rather infamous, for the horse markets. And there's still a mural that reminds of that time. But nowadays, during the Celtic Tiger, the entire area got rejuvenated, gentrified, whatever you want to call it, and the entire area got changed. They literally took out 400,000 cobblestones, cleaned them and put them back just to redevelop the area. And they also added a lot of new apartment complexes right next to all the old building, which makes for a very classic Dublin street view where you have super new and super old just coexisting one street next to the other.
As you walk into Smithfield, you kind of feel this sort of hipster, kind of old meets new kind of vibe. Yeah, just like the wine said, we've got these construction sites happening. That's another thing for later. And a lot of these smaller cafes and independent eateries, including some pretty cool ones like the Token. Yeah, this place kind of gives the vibe that it's the place where all those cool, hip, older millennials know and the young Gen Zs will kind of hang out. According to home.ie, the majority of people living here are either single or couples without children. Cough, millennials, Gen Z. 65% of people are under the age of 34. So clearly, this is an area that is popular with students and especially young professionals.
Other than events and being close to the going out areas of the city, other popular activities also include cafes, since there's a whole lot of them. Going to cafes, going out to eat. As you can maybe already imagine, it's a lifestyle that probably costs a bit of money and is a bit reflected in the rents as well. So we looked at what kind of accommodation is available around Smithfield, and rents for a one bedroom started like 1,700 per month. So that is already a chunk of money, which does make you realise unless there's students living in student accommodations, it probably has to be young professionals living there because you do need a certain budget to be able to afford the area. 2 bedrooms we found were a bit more expensive, like 1,800, 1,900. If rather than renting you're looking to buy, there were some options that were cheaper based on, what's usually the standard in Dublin. So there is some places we saw for like 230,000, 250,000. Of course, the bear rating on those places. You can imagine just how much renovation one of the older places that you might be able to get for that sort of price would need. So the real cost of trying to move in there and make it livable is probably a bit more.
As you can see, there's a lot of construction going on. And it makes sense, as 88% of the accommodation are actually apartments in the area.
Other than cafes, the area is also known for the Lighthouse Cinema, which shows rather indie films and not necessarily what you would see in a mainstream cinema. And as you walk around, you'll also see some more touristy landmarks like the Jameson Distillery.
So we did what anyone trying to discover a new area would do. Follow the new construction. And that led us to a place which we were surprised existed and we didn't expect at all. And that place was Grange Gorman. We know there's a bit of history behind it.
So as I was doing my research for this video, there was very little information about this area. All I could find was that basically it used to be an area with workhouses and prisons before people got shipped off to Tasmania. Really depressing stuff, and then people decided, let's tear it all down, try and build some university campus, something. That's all I knew. I had zero expectations for the area to be interesting whatsoever.
But interesting it was. So we came here and we were greeted by these, well put together older buildings that then just gave away to huge new buildings. And as we learned and we walked around a lot more at the complex, as we realised that, oh wow, this is actually university. It was a Saturday, so the actual play courts are full of people playing, doing sports, and it was just a completely different vibe in this middle of almost nowhere that added a lot of, some characters to the area. It was almost exciting to see that, that places are being redeveloped without being tearing stuff down into a wonderful experience, because we did walk around for way longer than we thought we would. And we did notice some apartments going up, so it's interesting. Let's give it will be a place to go once it's finished. Oh, and the view. Didn't realize you can see the Dublin mountains from here.
And the part that's maybe the most heartwarming part about gentrification, because usually you hear with gentrification about how communities get displaced, but it felt like there was a lot of local community there, because there were so many people just walking around the park who were clearly locals, just walking there with a cup of coffee and their dog or their kids, or going to their football practice, whatever. So it seemed already a very integrated part of local life. Another area that's a little more famous in Dublin 7 is Phibsborough. And we didn't really know much about it, but I had read a few times about this Blessington Basin that's supposed to be cool or whatever. So of course I was like, since we're already there, let's walk up there and see what it's like. And I have to admit, I was very surprised by how gorgeous it is. It's this little basin, water thing, with a little island in the middle, and it's just like a little walled park you can walk around on. And it just makes you feel like you're outside of the city, but at the same time you're in the middle of the city, because you see all the roofs of the buildings next to it, or church towers in the distance. So you're aware you're in the middle of the city, but at the same time it feels like you're not.
So besides the wonderful or not so wonderful sound of seagulls making a lot of noise, you open up to the entrance, which is actually full of Georgian or Victorian, not quite sure, I need to take a better look at them, buildings that looks like it would be right out of what the original streets of Dublin from the 20th century would have looked like.
We also noticed some very cool art on the wall, which makes it look like there's just a magical door into another world, and it just fits the general vibe of the area, since it seems to have a little magic of its own. So then there's also Stoneybatter, which is a neighbourhood that often gets mentioned, and it's, when you read about it, it makes it feel like it's so much bigger than it actually is. And a lot of that has to do with that it's won some awards for like coolest neighbourhood, one of the coolest neighbourhoods around the world, and articles have called it like the Williamsburg by the Liffey, and to use it as an example to talk about gentrification. And like, sure, as we walk through, it's a nice area, but at the same time it feels a lot like other areas in Dublin, so maybe we just haven't delved deep enough to see why exactly it's being singled out as this one huge example of gentrification and sort of hipsterification of hipsters everywhere in the coffee shops and everyone walking around with their takeout coffee. Because there's other places in Dublin that do it as well, and if you look at Dublin 7 as a whole, there's a lot of areas we saw that have been gentrified in different ways and repurposed by the communities now living there. But Stoneybatter is definitely one of the more famous ones, even if it's only because it got featured in a Spice Girls music video. Looking at all the neighborhoods that we visited today, the one common theme across of them is that you have very old areas of the city with a lot of their own charm, their own character, their own history, and they're trying to preserve that while also trying to be a bit more innovative. And there is a lot of gentrification going on, there's a lot of redevelopment going on, and it's changing the area, and they're now trying to find a balance between trying to keep the old charm, the old buildings, that old atmosphere alive, while also combining it with newer ways that the community can use the area with the new university, new sports grounds, new apartments, all those things, and bring it together and find the balance between them. And I think that's probably also their biggest challenge right now. Like, if you read about the area, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, like for example the cobblestone pub, they're trying to build a hotel over it, or at least seek the permission for it. And of course there's a lot of opposition from the community, because they'll have to find the point that where there's too much gentrification going on and not enough old stuff, while also still keeping the area fresh and a good place to live for the community.